Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Glen Willis and Tyler Jones. We are recording on a Wednesday night in a long stretch of three off days in a row for the Hawks. They just went on the road for two winnable road games and came away with probably the worst loss of the season and their biggest blowout of 2025. So, mixed bag. Any huge takeaways from the trip?
I'll defend the Nets game in this one aspect. The Nets are way better than the record, and like not playing D'Angelo Russell helped them a lot uh, on both ends of the floor. So even though the Hawks should have won that game, like the Nets have been pretty competitive. Like they played the Celtics pretty close the next night or whenever they played next. So like, and they've been consistently playing teams pretty close recently. So like they've been bad. They're like manufactured bad, if that makes sense. Like they do stuff to guarantee some losses here and there because they're not trying to win games, but primarily having D'Angelo Russell run the show half the time, which they have better options. But like they're not a bad team, especially like they were on Sharp. Like oh, he was the real difference maker in that game. I thought Quinn needed to put a Kongwu in the game when Sharp was in because I actually think Sharp's the better center, and like the Nets really took advantage of that matchup where I think Barlow would have had a better time going up against Nick Claxton.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that last point. That's a good one. What do you think, Glenn?
Yeah, I think if you watch Brooklyn, you can see their this the thing it kind of starts with is they're well coached. I mean, they run their stuff. It's tight, and they play hard. You know, the thing that I guess the thing that was the biggest miss for me was that they didn't really have point guard ball handling. I felt like the Hawks should have been able to turn them over more, contain the ball better, and they weren't able to do that. Brooklyn plays out on the edges a lot with their offense. They use a lot of that kind of looking to the DHO from the corner. They use a lot of kind of flare screening into that. So they do spread their defense out a lot. But to me, giving up as many points as they did to now, I know that Brooklyn shot the ball well. Like Cam, got especially shot the ball really well that game. Um, and but to me, it's like take that off the 3 point line. Come on, man. I mean, we talked about it before. If you chase him off the line, Cam's not gonna. He doesn't have a lot to work with once you chase him off the 3 point line. So, NBA season's a grind. Every team has 3 to 5 of these, a year, I guess. But I still think that was a game they had to win in order to try to kind of further cement their spot. Trying to get 7 there. But it's kind of funny. I people around, I don't know if it's the right way to describe it, around the team or whatever. I'll DM them. They're like, Glenn, it doesn't matter. Like this year doesn't matter. Like development matters. Really matters. But people like all the fans freaking out on Twitter or Blue Sky or wherever. Um, that's not to say they didn't want to win. It's not to say that, and I call it an inexcusable loss. I just thought they it was the one they should be able to win. Um, but I still go back. Big picture stuff is really what they're working on. So.
I mean, if the wins and losses don't matter, it's been a lot of Terrence Mann uh, and Vit Krejci over Zaccharie Risacher, particularly these last two games. Um, I'm not understanding exactly what they're doing with that, particularly with um, the lineups where it's Trey Man and Pete Krejci on the floor at the same time next to like Niang, and the Hawks are just getting destroyed athletically. Like they're just getting beat up physically because they're small. That lineup, and especially with Barlow at center, like it's just I'm not. understanding what the process is with that lineup is in particular. And I'm really not understanding why Risacher isn't playing more overall, considering how well he's playing. Like, it'd be one thing if he was still the guy we saw for the first 30 or some odd games of the season. Like, I completely get it. That player, man, and he, you could argue are better than that. But like Risacher's just been good and he needs to play more. And like they need to let him experiment more, let him turn the ball over a bit more. Like, let him make mistakes because they gotta figure out what he can't do. They gotta figure out what he needs to work on beyond just the play finishing stuff. Because I think there's more, there's more there on the table for him. And I just like to see it if, like you said, Glenn, they're under the impression that we're trying to develop these guys. Well, I would like to see Ricochet develop more and either play more and have the ball in his hand.
I
Yeah. I did a little video put on Patreon. I'll just talk about it quick. But I talked about like what I'd like to see. And I don't want to feel like I should be able to dictate timing or whatever. I trust the coaching staff knows what they're doing. They're clearly prioritizing his development as a shooter this year. That's number one priority they're working on with him this year, right? I'd like to see him in short roll. Like, Dyson's got a lot of that this year, and Dyson's good, except for he's facing a really smart defense. They impact him. But maybe that's something that maybe they're just like, we're not going to give that to him until next year. But he has the processing, the hands, to kind of function there. And I honestly, if the rest of the season, I'd like to see him get, I don't know, 5 to 8 of those a game. Set the screen, roll towards the nail, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to see them open up like Tyler to some things that he hasn't been doing to this point this season. Kind of lean into a couple more areas, start getting some reps there. Sorry, Kevin.
No, you actually gave me more time to try to do like some homework that because I'm glad Tyler brought this up because it kind of ties two things together that sort of both concern me about the Hawks and maybe it is a developmental thing like and so the two things that concern me is like okay what is happening with Riza Shea like if you go back to the not this most recent Hornets game but the one before that he played like 20 minutes and he was playing great like it that one was like one of the ones that was really baffling to me but like the two things that concern me is like, okay, number one, Riza Shea is not playing late. He's not really finishing games, and he's just not playing that many total minutes. And then two, the other thing that concerns me, like in both of these games that we were talking about here with the Nets and the Hornets, the more recent Hornets game, like the bench is just super concerning to me. Like it just looks so much worse without Karis LeVert out there. A lot more disorganized, and so I guess my question that kind of relates both of these two together is are they trying to keep Riza Shea away from the bench players? Are they trying to hitch him at the hip to a Kongwu or Daniels? I mean, Trey plays a lot with the bench, so it's not really that. But is there some other combination of starters where they're like, we just really need to have those players out there with Riza Shea?
It's funny. I went back that first Charlotte game of the two. I went back and watched like the last 5 possessions before he went to the bench. I was trying like, did he screw something up?
I
Did he?
don't think he did.
No, I couldn't find anything.
I couldn't find
But
anything.
sometimes you'll go if you, sometimes in that case you'll go back and you'll find this like really huge error or whatever. But he's a smart player, so I didn't expect to find anything. He's a really smart, for especially for 19 he's a really smart kid. So it's hard for me to know what's going on there. I mean the Hornets. I mean there are times when the other team is kind of big at the 4 and the 5 that they won't play Ricochet as much. Yeah, like don't want to get switched on the bridges or
But
whatever it
but
is.
going back to Hornets game number one, he was very good on Bridges. Like all those
Yeah,
Yeah,
minutes
that
that he played
he
at
was
power
like
forward, he was good.
legitimately the only one who was putting any like deterrence to Miles Bridges drivers. Everybody else was just getting bullied. And I'm like, what exactly are we doing here? Because it just feels like this is uncompetitive. It's like it's it I don't know. I don't like it. It's to me, it feels like they're being overprotective instead of like because like he wants to play and he wants to compete. That third quarter against the Hornets, I mean, that came after him only playing 9 minutes total in the first half, which I'm watching the game. I'm like, I'm stunned, stunned. I'm like, what's the game plan? this is a Hornets team that's not very big, playing a bunch of guys who are not typically in their rotation. This is a perfect game for Ricochet to kind of experiment out there on the floor, and instead he gets 9 minutes in the first half. And then in the second half, it felt like his teammates were like, all right, we're going to feed Ricochet the basketball. And Ricochet kind of helped himself as well by getting open. But like, they're like, we're going to look for Ricochet so that he can play more. Because I, I don't get it. I'm not understanding it, especially considering he played 36 minutes against the Clippers, where I thought he honestly had played the best game of his career against that Clippers game. He wasn't making shots compared to other games, but like his overall game, like I thought he was incredible. And, Quinn rewarded him by playing 36. He hasn't been worse, but his minutes have gone down. So I'm not understanding unless they're going to come out and tell me he's on a hard minutes limit and we can only play him X amount of minutes a week or something. Like if they're going to say that, then fine, whatever. But I'm not getting it from a pure like development side and a competitive side. Like he's been one of their better players. Like I just don't like you're telling me you Terrence Mann is a better defender than Zaccharie Risacher right now. Like I don't see it. I just don't.
Well,
So I
you
got a
might have
question.
some truth serum this week because they've got 3 off days in a row, and then they're going to play a Golden State team where his particular skill set will probably come in handy.
Yes, yeah, his ability to rotate, manage defensive space. He's uh, for 19-year-olds high level. Terrence Mann. So first of all, I'm assuming you guys did not enjoy the whatever the 3 or 4 possessions he played point guard in the second half. Um, are they just trying to see if he can do like? So we talked about at the trade deadline, right? Generally, I like Terrence Mann as a player, as a bench piece. Um, just a kind of a solid, stable veteran. Um, but are they just trying to see if they let him play as much as they can he adapt to our offense so that they know that before we get to the summer, right? Are they like, we got to figure out if he can do this or not? I'm curious if that's part of what's going on with all of his minutes. I mean, the other part is just we know generally NBA coaches like to play veterans. That's kind of a crutch that NBA coaches tend to have. I'm totally speculating here, but I'm just curious, like, okay, we're gonna let him play 25 minutes a game, or I don't know how many minutes a game he's playing, but 25 minutes a game, and just see if he can adapt to our offense. I wonder if that's part of what's going on there.
It's a little bit more difficult to judge with Levert missing the 2 games
Yeah,
because it does seem like 25 minutes are kind of there for him, especially since they seem to. I mean, I've enjoyed what he's brought to the defense. Like everything that he's done defensively has been like most. I think there was one game, maybe it was the Clipper game, where it was like not so great, but by and large, I thought he's played pretty well on defense. Um,
It is to me
so
disappointing.
they kind of count on him as sort of like Daniel's substitute. Like, okay, Daniels went off, we got to put somebody else in. They roll man out there to do kind of the same job, and I think he's done okay. But yeah, the offense, I don't know. I can't imagine that they're. It doesn't seem like there's anything that he's really doing on offense that makes them want to give him more leash. Like it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of like he seems like the most unstructured player in their offense that actually plays game. I mean, maybe on the whole roster, to be honest. Like anybody that's the 12 players that they could possibly throw in a game at this point, like everybody else seems to fit the template, and he just doesn't.
I just want to make a point about his defense because you actually brought up something. They Quinn absolutely uses him as a Dyson Daniels replacement, and I think
right.
that's a genuine that is a tactical mistake because too often he's in lineups where it's literally him as even somebody who's like you could consider an average defender. And he's not good enough to support the lineups that he's primarily playing. Like he's just not a good enough defender to do that. Be the only like that's why I'm like, I don't understand. There are plenty of minutes for Daniels and Risha to always be on the floor 100% of the time. One of them just being on the floor 100% of the time. I'm not that's why I'm just confused. I'm like, okay, you want man as a point of attack defender, that's fine. But if you're supporting him with Niang, Beat, and Trey Young, like he's not Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels can make that line. Terrence Mann is getting like Terrence Mann is not does not have the physical capabilities to support to just guard up front without any help the way Dyson can. And so like I just don't think I think it's a disservice to man defensively for him to be isolated like this. And you're also getting worse on offense as well because his offense is like if it's not created drives to the rim for him, like his self creation is kind of hit or miss where sometimes he gets to his spots, but then other times he's really burning a lot of clock trying to get to the middle of the floor where they could cycle through some more options.
It's interesting. Kevin mentioned it. I don't know if it was one or two episodes back where he's kind of shooting over his head right now. His self creation, he's making now he's breaking process to do it, right?
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases, late shot clock, he's creating a shot and somehow making it. I kind of feel like if Hawks fans never really paid attention to him before, they think this is what he is, and he's never been this kind of shooter before. You know,
Yeah.
but maybe he just feels comfortable in Atlanta. I don't know, but I feel like there's you know,
He's definitely been empowered to do more, like on offense. Like that's without
yeah,
question.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
But
think that Kevin, you might have something too. Like they want to see what he can do if they want to bring this back, next season. Because uh, to me, I've just not been that interested in any of his offerings on the offensive side of the floor or the defensive side of the floor. Like to me, I think the biggest issue man has is that Karis LeVert is just flat out better on both ends. And so, like, I don't think you need to be playing when you already have Dyson Daniels and Zaccharie Risacher. If LeVert's healthy, what is man really giving you that the better basketball players on the roster who are here already are? So there could be something to the fact that because LeVert's out, they're like, all right, we're going to give man some more room because when LeVert was playing, man was consistently the lowest minute guy. He was getting like 20 minutes tonight.
Hmm.
Now it seems like they reversed him and Ricochet because they want to give man a shot here. But like I don't see the value in it. Like Terrence Mann respected him. He's 28 years old and he's not he's a career backup, 6'4", good player, but like, Diamond dozen, type of basketball player here, like readily replaceable from guys they already have on the roster.
When
yeah, if
Tyler was
Hawks fan,
talking before about man's defense, he's like, he can't be the primary point of attack defender in these lineups with Trey, Niang, and who else did you put out there?
Beat
Oh,
Krejci.
yeah. Like, okay, but I think the other issue there is like Barlow,
Oh, yeah.
like he's in a tough spot too because defense is not his strong suit. I don't get how these bench lineups are supposed to exist and stay, let's say tread water with the players that they have out there on defense. There's just not enough of them. Like some of these games I watch Barlow and I actually come away a little bit impressed because I watched him in College Park and I feel like he's picked up some things. I think he's actually gotten better as a defender, but I still just don't see the end goal. Like, what is this supposed to be with him as a defensive center? It's not all that great. I
yeah,
don't understand why Mo Gay is a power forward. Like, why is this like a developmental thing where they
Exclusively.
want Mo
This
to
is
be a power forward, so we're just going to play him there, and his brain can't turn on for 6 minutes as a center when they're getting absolutely shredded on the back end because Niang Capella wasn't great. Niang Barlow is just you just go into the woodshed every time. It's just
Kevin.
go ahead.
Let me. So I just watched the Pelicans game. They had Zion playing the three next to Eve Missy and uh what's his name? Kelly Olynyk. So
Yep.
Zion was played the three basically nearly like for large stretches of the game. There's no reason the Hawks can't just have Niang be the three with Mo Gay and Dominic Barlow supporting him. If you're trying to buy minutes without Congo, I'm not understanding why Quinn. And this has been my real annoyance with Quinn Snyder for like the last couple seasons. He always just goes small. Like he just it's like you have the option of just playing two bigger guys and just put Niang at the three. Like he can work there, and then you have Mo Gay to just be that all around defender, and just literally you just want to buy minutes for Congo. But it's like, well, I want to replace. It's like he's trying to say Barlow can give me what Okongwu does. He doesn't need any back end help. Uh, we can just play Niang exclusively at the four. You can play Niang at the three. Like teams do this all the time. Like if they have shortcomings somewhere, they'll just put and run like a gimmick zone or something. Like they have options. You cannot put on a floor Trae Young, Beat Krejci, Terrence Mann, and George Niang. Those four guys next to Dominic Barlow and expect anything good to happen on really either side of it. Like you're not you're you're too small on defense, and quite frankly, you're too small on offense.
And you're too
Teams
small
don't
rebounding.
too small, no ability to offensive rebound. You take away Barlow's strength because teams aren't, you know, Barlow's a good scoring option at the five, but you're not going to give Barlow the ball and tell him to go create for himself. Like you're going to run pick and roll with him. But if you're running pick and roll, his man is just going to trap up the floor and get the ball out of Trey's hands. And now it's like, okay, which one of Man and Beat's going to dive hard to the rim and finish through contact? If Man's okay at it, but again, he's small and like teams aren't scared of it. It to me, I'm like, it's an opportunity. Like, if you don't want to play Gay at center, play him at power forward next to Barlow with Niang there. Be big, just be bigger to give yourself a chance. Too often, Quinn is not giving himself a chance on either end of the floor, and he's putting way too much pressure on his starters to make up for the deficit that this bench unit is giving him. Like he has the option of just playing bigger. Like I'm not understanding. Like again, if this is a developmental thing, why not just throw Gay out there at the four more often? Next to Niang and Barlow with Trae Young, and tell Trae to make it work. Like I feel like that lineup can work on offense, and it's much better defensively than Beat and Man on the floor at the same time. Beat and Man do the same thing. Like at the end of the day, they're the same player. You don't have to play them both, uh, uh, at least at the same time.
And you'd be leveraging, that's what they did in College Park for so much of the season. Like they had Tony Bradley, who's a really good center, but what they did was they would start Gay, they would start Barlow. Those two would play a lot of minutes together, and then when they sat, Bradley came in as the backup center. But they were like, really tied at the hip in College Park for their G League minutes. They have Gay and Barlow have a lot of experience and familiarity with being each other's big out there.
I just feel like Barlow would be better if he was in a supported more physical. If he wasn't being tasked with being literally the only big guy on the floor. Like that is just to me. I'm like, Quinn, you're putting this kid like you're going to kill his confidence. To me, like, I just don't think it's fair to him. When I I'm literally see all the other teams in the NBA, it's not what they want to do, play a power forward at small forward, but they do it and they get away with it because at least they have the size to match up physically. Right now, a lot of the problems are the Hawks literally can't grab a rebound because they're too small and they're getting killed. And but beyond that, they also got Niang out there isolated because he has no help behind him with Barlow. And so like every team's attacking Niang off the dribble and getting easy shots at the rim. If Barlow goes to help, there's nobody grabbing. Like this is just like this is I'm sorry, this is kind of basic stuff here to me. I'm like, okay, this lineup's not working. Why don't we try something different? because it 100% cost them the next game. If they would have just matched up physically when Darren
Yeah.
Sharp was in the game, even with how poorly they were playing, because they weren't playing well. Like I think that's fair to say, they would have won the game. But like instead, he kind of just left them out to dry for extended periods of time. And he's like, "All right, we got to get Conwu back in the game." I'm like, either play a Conwu 40 minutes or play bigger with your bench units. Like enough of this. I'm gonna put Vit Krejci as my power forward. That is nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Are we off the
It
handle
is.
run, or what do you think? Where are we?
No,
Is this
we're
crazy
my. I mean,
talk?
sitting here looking at the cap sheet, like, and if you watch the Pacers this week, like Tony Bradley's legitimately helping them. He is legitimately helping them. I mean, did they need to put Don Barlow on a real contract? Could they have saved a spot for Tony Bradley? And I mean, Tony Bradley would be helping the Hawks right now, right? If they
I
would,
mean,
if
I
they
think there's a
didn't
big
went out with
age
that.
discrepancy, so I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah, but it's a
But yeah,
Barlow
yeah. I mean, if
like
Bradley was in Barlow's roster spot right now, they would be a better team. I feel like, yeah, sure.
Yes, yeah. So so they cycled like Kevon Harris through for like 3 days or whatever it was on 10 day, 3 days of 10 day. So, and that's not to say that I mean I'm happy for Dom to get that contract, but and I guess and you
to be
see
fair, they
like
probably didn't expect Capella to miss more time.
yeah, yeah,
I think that the thing was like Kevin said, Barlow is younger, but he also wasn't expected to be playing. Like
yeah,
he just wasn't going to be playing at all. To me, I'm like, okay, Capella's not here. We don't know when Capella's going to be back. Uh, you gotta help your team out. Like you gotta help Barlow out because like this is not you're doing him no favors having him be the only big guy on the floor. That is that harkens back to when the Hawks used to play John Collins next to four small guys, and everybody's like, "Well, John Collins is bad on defense." I'm like, okay, that might be true, and he's not a true center. But if you want to play him at center, you got to play him with bigger basketball. Like you just have to if you want to play with a small center. Uh, Larry Nance is bigger than Barlow, stronger, older, seasoned veteran, kind of knows the tricks of the trade. Barlow doesn't know anything. Like he's a young kid, does barely, I only been playing for 2 or 3 years in the NBA. Like there's like some intuitive knowledge he doesn't have yet, and I think it would behoove Quinn to kind of support him. And I'm not asking for much. I'm literally just saying, just having the end at the three, so you're just bigger. You got to So like it's Mo Gay backing Barlow up, and those two are going to make plenty of mistakes. I understand it, but you're really just trying to you're really just trying to buy minutes until Okongwu's healthy to play, or Okongwu can go out there and not be playing 40 minutes a night. Like that's really the game plan right now until Capella's back.
And you've got Trey Young. Like they play Trey three stints a half. You know that stint that he plays in the middle with the bench. Like if you ever wanted to play three bigs at a time, and if you ever wanted a person to make that work, Trey Young is one of the few human beings on earth that can make that kind of crap work.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then like, even like these last two games, we touched on it, like having Dom on with Sharp and then having Dom on with Nurkic, right? Like
Nurkic,
he, right? So, and I mean, your hat to Dom. He competes. He tries. He doesn't back down. But I mean, just gonna get pushed. I mean, those guys are way bigger than him, way stronger than him.
And Trey did his
It's
part. Like he just took Nurkic and just absolutely that middle
yes,
stint where Trey was playing against the bench and it was Nurkic. Like
yeah, he was.
every single possession just made Nurkic look bad. Like it was incredible.
yeah, yeah. And now, like with I mean, like with the Warriors, you can play smaller lineups against the Warriors if you want to.
Yeah,
You know,
this is all moot.
and so it'd be interesting to yeah, because you got
Oh, mute. Yeah,
a ton of space to cover on defense against the Warriors. So that'll be an interesting one to see. If we see same lineup, same rotation, or maybe Clint back. I mean, Harris being back is critical. I mean, yeah. It's funny though. The one thing about Karras, and Karras is a good defender, like gritty. But you can tell, like in Cleveland, he could gamble for steals because he had Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley behind him. Like, I feel like someone has to be telling him, like, we don't have Jarrett Allen behind you. If when you gamble and miss, clean it up right there. So, wonder if he might start kind of reining that part of his game in. Cleveland, Mitchell gambles, Harris gambled, et cetera. So another little kind of interesting kind of adjustment mentally that the player has to make after a trade.
All right, what about the Warriors game? Is what do you expect given, let's say, LeVert plays? Like what's the appropriate way of going about this Warriors roster at this point now that they have Jimmy Butler and company?
Well, if you foul Jimmy Butler, you're going to lose. So they're going to have to be super disciplined guarding Jimmy. But at the same time, Jimmy's been more of a facilitator with the Warriors, and Steph's has just been going supernova. So it'll be an interesting game. I I think they're really going to need Karras, primarily as that secondary ball handler. The Warriors are a good defense. They're not going to, so somebody else is going to have to create something off the bounce. It would be interesting to see how they guard Dyson Daniels, like who they guard and who they guard Risacher with. Like the Clippers smartly didn't put their worst defender on Daniels or Risacher at all. They put him on Mo Gay. And so, like, I think what the Hawks are going to run into is it'll be interesting who Curry's guarding and how the Hawks try to attack Curry and how they try to get him uh at least make him the main character so they can get the Warriors in rotation at least with the starting, and then from there, like how they play when Trey's off the floor because uh hasn't been good though. I think Dyson's done an admirable job. Like I don't think it's been really Dyson. It's just a lack of like offensive talent overall on the roster. So so that's why it's really important that Karras is back because I think Karras can do some stuff to take some pressure off Dyson, take some pressure off of Trey, and uh, kind of smooth things over for a bit, just to keep pace with the Warriors because the Warriors have been playing great basketball. Like that's just
Yeah,
they look like contenders.
yeah. For me, a lot of it is just uh, stuff, right? So if you watch the teams try to defend the Warriors, they'll try to top block Steph. If you top block Steph, the Warriors will go 5 out, and Steph will just cut to the rim, right? They set everything up for two-way. If you have two guys react to Steph as he's lifting up from a pin down, the screener will cut to the rim if you even lose that containment for half a second. So you've got to be organized on the weak side. You have to be every single possession organized on the weak side to cover that up and to rotate in because you could just say, hey, don't screw this up. But like the stuff they run is so multidimensional, you know, that legitimately hard. So the organization on the weak side to kind of, have someone ready to kind of come to the front of the rim, come to the paint, whatever it might be, is just as important as how you're defending that primary action on the strong side. And to me, that's what's going to determine if they are able to kind of give themselves a legitimate chance to win the game. That constant connectivity, strong side, weak side organization, all that sort of stuff. If you don't do that stuff well, Warriors put 130 on you, easy.
All right. Any anything you want to hit on before we part?
Just hope this break means they got a little healthier team coming in next on Saturday. It'd be good for the team.
Anything else, Tyler?
Um, the Heat and Magic keep losing, so
It's
that's good.
incredible. It's
Uh,
really incredible.
yeah, I so like the Hawks, back to Glen's point, the Nets game should have mattered, but it didn't because the other teams that are in contention for the seventh, and unfortunately the teams, if the Hawks were trying to get to six, they keep winning, so it's like the Hawks are kind of stuck. So really, they're just playing for pride here, to get the seventh seed, win the division. So hopefully they can not have another Nets debacle because that game was. I'm still mad about that. Like I know they won by 30 points, but like I'm still angry they lost that game. They had no business losing, especially considering like their core guys played well the that game. Like that was just frustrating.
Do you let me leave you if you have a quick answer to this, we squeeze it in. Do you have a preferred opponent for the Hawks out of the Magic, the Heat, and the Bulls for their playing game? I mean, they're all pretty closely bunched. Like, is there one you're like, oh, I'd feel good about the Hawks taking on this team?
I
Yeah,
don't think
I
it.
think, yeah. If I could answer first, the Heat, Hawks, well, shouldn't have any trouble there. The Heat are in a bad place. The Magic will injure half your team, so I don't want it to be the Magic.
Good point.
Um, the Bulls are up and down, but they have a lot of guys that are missing time too. So I think my first choice would be Bulls, second choice would be Heat, my third choice keep the Magic very very far away from any Hawks players as much as you can.
Yeah, it's probably Bulls, just primarily because they're the worst defensive team out of those out of those three. Uh, the Heat and Magic are still good defensively. They just can't score. So, like, either like those games would be dog fights, whereas the Bulls will be much more enjoyable viewing experience. So, I'd prefer to watch Bulls, even though they could lose. I mean, they can lose any three of these games. Like,
Sure.
dogs aren't so good that they should be so much favored to beat these teams. But I think the Bulls will be an easier time just because they have good defensive personnel. The Hawks do, while being a good offensive team, good offensive team now due to the trades they made.
All right. I appreciate you taking the time to join me tonight, and we'll get to watch some basketball here soon enough. Uh, have a good night, and I guess good night also to you, Bob.
Good night, Bob.
Bye, bud.